Welcome back, everybody, to Sharf Sports Media, and everybody take a deep breath, because I want to strangle Johnny Hockey still, but we're starting to get over it a bit. Not as reactionary as we was on Wednesday when the news came out that Johnny Gaudreau was not going to end up a New Jersey Devil. Instead, he's going to the Flyers, right? He wants to go home. No. He wants to go to the Islanders, wants to stay on the East Coast, but wants to be probably a team that's a little ahead, a little more veteran-like. No. He goes to the freaking Columbus fucking Blue Jackets. What? It was so frustrating to see that. And as a Devils fan, you read the reports and you're the favorites going in. And you have a lot of hope. I mean, Johnny Gaudreau would have fit this team perfectly. You needed an elite winger on this team to kind of be I wouldn't say the last piece of the puzzle, because again, you haven't made the playoffs in how many years, but would have really solidified that top three. Would have given Hughes or Heischer that elite winger to play with. You can play him with Brad as well, or you can switch Brad and have one Hughes and Heischer each have one of those wingers, and Gaudreau and Bratt. But ultimately, he decides to go to Columbus. And what this means to me, because reports were that New Jersey had an offer in the 9s or even in the 10s. I don't know if they had a better offer than Columbus, but it was pretty close. And he wasn't talking to Columbus for a while. It's pretty clear to me that he wanted to go to Philadelphia. And Philadelphia just couldn't get it done. They couldn't get it done. Because Chuck Fletcher, the guy leading the Flyers, is pretty incompetent, because he wants to rebuild fast, but he also is not rebuilding. He does some moves that don't suggest a retool aggressively. That's what he calls it. He doesn't suggest that, but then other moves that do. So he's gonna be stuck. It's so weird what the Flyers are doing, but they don't get it done. So he didn't want to come to New Jersey. It's pretty apparent. So then he found another option in Columbus, and you're not gonna be able to force a guy to come here. I think Tom Fitzgerald did everything he could in his power to try to get Johnny Gaudreau to come to the Devils, and ultimately he just didn't want to come here, which sucks. And I wanted to wait to do this video until we saw all the press conferences from the big signings and Tom Fitzgerald talk. So Tom Fitzgerald talked today, and he saw on Wednesday there was a point where he thought Gaudreau was going to be a Devil. And so it's frustrating. It's definitely frustrating, because Johnny Hockey would have completely changed this team, I think, given it another dimension that we don't really have. But unfortunately, it doesn't end up happening for the New Jersey Devils, and I'm not as angry as I was before. We're not angry. I was never angry. I was just frustrated. I was very frustrated before. Now it's all right. Let's shift into another direction. But I don't know if you'd call it a reactionary move to that, but the big move that the Devils make is they sign Ondrej Palat, the former Tampa Bay Lightning two-time Stanley Cup champion, to a 5-year, $6 million per year deal for a total value of $30 million. Palat is a very well-known player right now in the league because of his time in Tampa and what he's done to help that team get to 3 straight cups and to win 2 of them. Guy is very fast, can bring a veteran presence to this wing core and this offense that we don't really have. We don't have guys that really won championships or know what it takes to win a championship on this team. And I think Palat can definitely provide that. He's not the biggest producer in the regular season. Last year he had 49 points in 77 games, 18 goals, 31 assists. His career high was in 2016-2017 when he had 52 points in 75 games, and he's usually around the 40 point mark. The past 3 years he's hit 41, 46, and 49. He's only got to above 20 goals once, and that was his rookie year, because the first year in the league he only played 14 games. So he's not the biggest. He's not this crazy guy in the regular season, but in the postseason, guy turns into another level. I mean, he in this postseason. Where's the postseason stats? Hold on. I had the postseason stats right here, and it did not. It went away. There they are. Hold on. We're getting the postseason stats up for Mr. Palat. This year, in 2011-2012, in 23 games, he had 21 points, 11 goals, 10 assists. Last year, in 23 games, he had 13 points. In the first Stanley Cup championship with the Lightning, he had 18 points in 25 games. So this guy turns it on to another level in the postseason, and I think that's going to be huge if we can get there. I think he could be a huge leader for this team, kind of give another voice, help Hischier out, really. I think he's pretty solid defensively, two-way guy. So if you want to pair him up with Hischier, make a very good defensive, offensive line, I guess. Or you can pair him with Hughes, and he takes a little more defensive responsibility for that line, and could still help drive the play with Hughes and whoever other winger, Holtz, Mercer, Bratt, whoever you want to pair him with. But I do like the signing of him. I love Ondrej Palat as a player. I think he is a dog. That's the best way to describe Ondrej Palat to me. It's just a straight-up dog. But contract is a little bit high for me. It's not the term, the $6 million per year. It's a little steep, but he made $5.3 million on his last contract. He was gonna get a raise. So I was hoping, if you hoped, because I saw a 5-year contract, I was hoping 5.75, 5.5, 6. It's a little high, but it's manageable. It's the 5 years that worries me a bit right now. Ondrej Palat is 31 years of age, so by the time you get out of this contract, he's going to be 36. So I think the first 3 years might be okay. The next 2, I don't know. I really don't know what the next 2 years are, but he'll give you definitely a big leadership, a veteran presence, somebody who fills out your top 6 pretty nicely. He's going to be in that top 6. I wouldn't call him a first-line winger. He can if he needs to be, but he's a solid second-line veteran winger who's just an absolute dog. But I don't think this takes away from Johnny Gaudreau. Apparently, Fitzgerald said that one had nothing to do with the other, and they were looking at Palat either way with Gaudreau. That would have been kind of cool. I don't know what would have happened. I think it's a little bit of a reactionary move, but I still like Palat ultimately coming here. That was the big move, and I don't think it takes you out of getting an elite winger still. I know you have around $16.5 million left with the other moves. We'll get into that in a second. But I think if you can work around maybe trading, I think you on the trade block, you have Boquist and either one or both of Janssen and Tatar. I think if you could work that way around, you could still go get a big winger. I don't know how Columbus is going to sign Patrick Laine now with the way their cap is by getting Gaudreau. Their GM said they're gonna try to find a way. It's gonna be very tough for them, very very tough. So I would, whether it be Laine or Tkachuk, now that Gaudreau's not there, if he doesn't want to stay in Calgary, you have to be all in on Tkachuk. So those are 2 guys I'd still be looking at, and you could still sign them to a longer-term deal. You're just going to have to work around a little bit. You don't have as much cap. You don't have to make maybe a trade or 2 to make it, quote, fit under the cap as you would now, but you still can pull it off. If you sign somebody else, though, to a 4 or 5 year deal, then that's off the table. So I don't want them signing any more long-term deals, any big money deals, anything more than $3 million per year, I think should be off the table, unless it's one of your contract extensions, which you still have to do in Bratt, in Vanacek, and a couple other guys are RFAs currently. But I still think, even with this $6 million cap hit from Palat, I still think you could still go get a top winger, and I still think you should. go get a top winger like a Kachuk or a Lane. Those are your two targets now, in my opinion. That wasn't the only free agent the Devils signed on Wednesday. Early on, they signed defenseman Brendan Smith. Played for Carolina last year. Mostly known for playing with the Rangers. He played a lot with Detroit as well. He's going into his 33rd season. They signed him to a 2-year, $1.1 million AAV. So 2.2 overall. I mean, it's a solid signing. Brendan Smith's going to be a solid 6th or 7th defenseman. I told you before. I think a veteran D that was low cost would have been a good move. He plays the game well, blocks shots, can really help guys progress, and it doesn't block the door for a guy like Ball or Wash or Olachuk. It gives them the opportunity to take that spot, because if Ball or one of the other guys or Walsh or Olachuk work into this system, or even the Mets is crazy enough. But if one of them outplays Smith, he can get this. He'll play. You don't need to play Brendan Smith. But if they're not ready yet, you could still let them play in the NHL or develop a little bit more, and you can rely on Brendan Smith a bit. Guy's been around the league. He was with Carolina. They've been with the Rangers. They made a couple runs. He's been a solid guy. He said on the press conference he likes helping the young guys develop and likes seeing them develop. Saw that on the Rangers with Fox and Keandre Miller. So I think he could really help a guy like Nemets, or maybe even when Hughes gets here, or Ball, Wash, Olachuk. I think it's a good stopgap guy. He's like a bridge guy, like a bridge quarterback in the NFL. He's that bridge to whoever wants to be that next defenseman. He's the guy you got to get through, and he can help them get there. And he could be a solid 7th, 6th defenseman who's been around the leagues, been in playoff positions, and has done well. He plays hard, blocks shots, physical guy, and he brings a lot of character as well. So another veteran guy. I like that signing. Not for too much term, only $1.1 million per year. So if he's really terrible next year, which I don't think he will be, you can cut him. You can buy him out. It's not that big a deal. So it's not that huge of a cap hit. It's a nice veteran guy who can really help out this young defensive group and see who can take the next step. And then lastly, before free agency, Devils made a trade. They traded Pavel Zacha to the Boston Bruins in exchange for Erik Haula, the veteran center for them, who has played a bit around. He'd been in Minnesota, had a career, was on that Vegas team, got on the expansion draft, had a career year in Vegas, was just in Boston. He's been on a different team, I think it was the last 6 years, Boston, Nashville, Florida, Carolina, and Vegas, and Minnesota. So he hasn't played a full year on a team since Vegas. A full year, and that was 2016, or 2017-18, 2018-19. That was the last time he played a full season, or multiple seasons on the same team. So he's been around the league. Guy is a very solid veteran centerman who's good at face-offs, been around the league, has had some success. I mean, last year he scored 18 goals, 26-6, 44 points in 78 games. Health is a little bit of an issue with him, so hopefully he could stay healthy the full season. But he gives you a nice third-line kind of guy, third-line centerman, whose veteran presence can help maybe fine-tune Jack and Nico if they need anything help with playing the center position. And just can really anchor that third line as a veteran. Listen, the Devils have a young team. They got a lot of young studs, but you're not going to win with only young studs. You need veterans. You need guys who have been around the block. And how again, you see the connection between, or the pattern emerging from Tom Fitzgerald wanted veteran guys who've been around the block and know what it takes. Haula's been around since 2013, 2014. He's been around a long time, 9 years in the league. Good depth, good centerman. I think he was the second center on the Boston Bruins last year, who made the playoffs. So, had a decent year. Gave the Carolina Hurricanes 7 games. So, being a third-line guy, could play with maybe like a Yegor or Tatar and Janssen, one of those guys, probably. I don't mind it. I think it's a solid trade. You had to get Zach out of here. He was not going to be on the team next year. Has been he's just so inconsistent with his play, with his effort. And you see it once in a while. You be like, oh, that shot, amazing. Oh, good, but he shows his hands. And then the next minute he can't back check, or he's losing battles he shouldn't lose. Or he misses the net 20 feet. A little bit of an exaggeration, but still. It's time to move on from Pavel Zacha. I know it's hard to move on from those high picks and admit defeat, but it was time to move on and to get a guy, not a high. I think his cap hit's like 2.1 something or something around there. Solid veteran third line center. So overall, I like the Devils' moves so far. Obviously, it still hurts not getting Gaudreau, but I think you got to trade Boqvist and either one or both of Tatar or Janssen. You don't really need Boqvist anymore on the third line center with Haula. So I wouldn't be worried. I worry about giving him playing time. I think you ship him out. And with Tatar or Janssen, I just don't. One of them's not going to fit. You're not going to play one of them on the fourth line. So especially for the money they're making, they can help another team. And maybe you put those guys in a package to go get a Line or a Kachuk. So. But that should be. Otherwise, I really wouldn't add anything. I'd focus on getting contracts with Jesper Bratt, who Fitzgerald said they're still working at it, and the rest of your RFAs, Wood, Vanacek, and the rest of them. And I would focus. Otherwise, I wouldn't add anybody. I would, except if you can go add an elite winger like Alane or Kachuk. So this is the team I'd be going into the offseason with. Or not the into the season with. But let me know what your thoughts on the Devils' free agency. How do you think they did? Do you think they should add anybody else? Do you think what do you think of the Palat contract? Was it too much for even a guy like Palat? Is it going to bite us in the ass in year 4, year 5? Do you think it's overall the good outweighs the bad? Did you like what Tom Fitzgerald did overall? Did you not? Let me know in the comments, or you could hit me up on Twitter at jsharp_1216. The link will be in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you on the other side.